Billy Donovan just sent a strong message to his young players calling out effort, physicality, and their heart. But my question is, who's going to call out Billy Donovan? Meanwhile, the team's leadership issues are completely non-existent, and the losing streak keeps growing. We're going to talk about all that, plus the Warriors matchup, and dive into the mailbag right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into this content today, y'all. And after the loss, the Bulls' last loss, their 12th loss in 15 games, a lot of the questions now are surrounding the Chicago Bulls team and asking, like, what is going to happen here, right? And Billy Donovan has called out his young players again and called out what he needs them to do in regards to that. Now, there's been some things of injuries and stuff over the stretch, but what a lot of people will tell you that actually watch these games, the Bulls aren't just losing because they're missing players. They're losing because of effort. I don't think that magically changes when you get some players back, right? But after the game, Billy Donovan had a lot to say. He said this. Listen, I'm not going to make any excuses because I always think players want opportunities to play and compete. And you know what? For some guys, this may be the best opportunity they got. To me, you should be playing all out, crazy hard, and really, really physical and say, listen, if this ends because we get healthy, at least I made an effort. I do not think we did that. I don't. So there, Billy Donovan is calling out some of the effort from the players that are on the back end of the bench, that this is their opportunity to maybe earn some more minutes, right? You look at the P. Wills, you look at the Julian Phillips, you look at the Dalen Terrys, even the Javon Carters, right? Even though I wouldn't categorize him necessarily as a young player, but he's not old either, right? And he's not necessarily as happy with their performance. And I'll say, okay, you're right in that. Like I've said before, I don't blame Billy Donovan for players not cutting to the basket. Players not moving without the ball. Players not fighting to get over screens. That is an effort thing. That isn't just come down to a player schematic thing. At the same time, though, I do hold coaching accountable for the fact that you have created this environment. You can call it out all you want in the press conferences. What are you doing in practice each and every day? What are you doing in your preparation each and every day? And I know you don't get a lot of time to practice as NBA teams once the season starts, and that's something a lot of fans may not realize. Teams get shoot-arounds. They don't get a lot of straightforward practices once the season starts. That's why you hear people talk about maybe restricting the schedule a little bit, right? Or cutting down the back-to-back, stuff like that. That's why you hear that, because a lot of NBA coaches will tell you they don't get a lot of time for actual full-on practices during the season. They just don't get a lot of opportunity to that with travel and everything else. But still, with that said, you still leadership is leadership. And if you are not happy with where that is, something has to change. Either the roster or your coach, right? Somebody made a great point based off yesterday's video. They said it's a lot easier to fire a coach than it is to fire an entire team. I apologize that I don't remember. I want to give the credit to the person who said that. If you're in the comment section on YouTube, please make sure you credit yourself for saying that. Been so many comments on the videos lately, like we're clearing 100, 150 comments in each video. We've grown too much to the point now where I don't have time to respond to everybody like I used to, and I apologize for that. But, the thing with Billy Donovan always has been, and I give Billy Donovan his flowers when he earns them, the coaching that we saw at the start of this season was great, and the fact that we've moved so far away from that, it highlights it even more why it's so frustrating that we're not seeing that same effort, right? Because it was great. It was meaningful. It did have its impact on this team. All that being said, if you are not getting the results out of the players that you want, eventually that falls on you as the head coach. And that's what Billy Donovan, the thing that this team, and people pointed out, this team lacks leadership. Vooch tried to, his version of leadership when he called out the team and, the preparation and the fact that, the players were celebrating after a win when they played like shit and barely. And somebody does need to call that out. Make no mistake about that, right? But Vooch, again, like we talked about, maybe the right message, wrong messenger. His effort has been in question as well, right? And so when you have teams like this that don't necessarily have that vocal leader, and that is why it is important to have that in the locker room, you want to see your coach be that, right? Eric Spoelstra is that for the Miami Heat, even when they lack some leadership. Rick Carlisle definitely does that for the Indiana Pacers. I say that we're starting seeing Joe Mazzulla and Ime Udoka be coaches that can do that as well, right? You need that. If you don't have that on your team, ideally you want both. You want tough leadership in your coaching position, and then you want a player that brings all that together, right? And I'll say this, at the start of the season, it really did seem like Josh Giddey was stepping into that leadership role. I talked a lot about it at the beginning of the season. Josh Giddey was one of the biggest communicators on defense that helped this team stay connected defensively, even though he's not the best one-on-one defender himself, right? And those are the type of things that you need from your team. Now, I do think Josh Giddey's frustrated with the situation. I do think we've seen a little bit of step back from that as well, right? But when you look at how the Bulls have losses over against the Pelicans, Hornets, Nets, and Pacers, twice against the Pacers, right, in the last 6. The Bulls were supposed to come out of this stretch, what did I say, winning the week, win some of these weeks. Hell, now we may not win the month of December, and we're 7 days into the month of December, right? So the frustration of the losses is legitimate through this team, and I'm glad that Billy Donovan's feeling it. Now, I'm glad to hear from Josh Giddey to say that this team hasn't lost his confidence. He still thinks that they can correct it. I love hearing Billy Donovan call out players. I like the words that we heard from Nikola Vucevic, so to say, but again, it all does not matter if you aren't living and breathing it on the basketball court. And right now, the Chicago Bulls aren't breathing anything. Now, we've had coach Josh Giddey has said this team still remains confident. They still, think that they can get back to what they were at the beginning of the season. Billy Donovan's calling out effort. And Kobe White, for what it's worth, thinks that the problems are fixable. Kobe White says this: nothing in this league is easily fixable. We're playing against the best competition every night. We've got great relationships on this team, so we just got to continue to have the honest conversations we have with each other and continue to grow. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take a ton of spirit and ton of heart, but it is fixable, which is the most important thing. I'm glad that there still remains internal confidence. I don't want to hear from our players in freaking the beginning of December that they don't feel like the problems are fixable. So it's good. But we are a step away from a players-only meeting. We are a step away from this team going incomplete. Well, I think they're already incomplete free fall, mainly because of the effort that's lacking, right? So, we can keep talking about what it is going to take to fix this team, but I think we all know what it's going to take to fix this team. It's going to take, if you're not moving off of pieces, it's going to take somebody in that locker room to put it out all there on the court, take the leadership by the reins, and lead this team. And right now, we don't have that guy. Whether it's through, players trying to worry about getting their own game together so they can help this team, or whatever it is, you need a leader in that locker room. You need a voice in that locker room. And I tell you what, I'm no longer betting on Billy Donovan to be that voice, because that's just not who Billy Donovan is as a coach, which leads to a lot of people in their thought. And here's the thing that I want everybody to realize, right? You don't have to replace Billy Donovan with another name. Matter of fact, I think part of the reason the Bulls went left in their last coaching search is because they went with the name coach. If I'm not mistaken, there was a coach that was a finalist for Ime Udoka, I think, was one of the finalists for the Bulls role. The Bulls didn't go with him. They went with the more proven thing, right? So, look, we got to move off this thought process that if you move from Billy Donovan, you have to go get a Mike Malone. Mike Malone isn't that much different from Billy Donovan. He's just not. Yes, he had success with Jokic, and he did win a title, and that deserves to be said because it's not easy to do. But go and look at the way the Denver Nuggets fans have talked about Mike Malone over the years. Not playing Jamal Murray at times. The rotations being a little bit funky at times, right? A lot of things that we've said, same thing about Billy Donovan, Mike Malone has suffered from. So I don't think just going out and getting a name in Mike Malone. Now, I love Taylor Jenkins. You guys know my favorite candidate for a coaching role is Chris Quinn, the assistant with the Miami Heat. I don't think he's leaving. I think Eric Spoelstra is about to move to the front office within the next 2 or 3 years, and Chris Quinn's going to take over the head coaching role. But you don't have to get a big name in here. You just have to get the right guy. Now, the Bulls probably aren't going to move off of Billy Donovan, so that's a moot point. But if you want to fix what's here on this team, all the quotes, all the sound bites from players like Giddey and Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic, Billy Donovan, that's all fine and dandy. Like I said, I do appreciate, there's a part of me that appreciates the fact that the resolve of this team, at least in what they're saying, is not done. But I need to see that shit on the court. Talking about it only gets you so far, and I'm tired of talk. I want to see some action by this goddamn team. This needs to be some action. And hopefully we get that action tonight when the Bulls take on, when they take on the Golden State Warriors, because this is a team that you cannot overlook. We'll get into that here in a second, right? So whether you're somebody that thinks, and this is where me and like Bobby disagree at, right? I don't give a shit that Billy Donovan called out effort. If that got these players in their feelings, then Billy Donovan, you're proving Billy Donovan right. Billy Donovan called out the effort because we were seeing a lack of effort and we were losing basketball games. We were about halfway through that first 5-game losing streak when he said that. So you have done nothing but prove him. If somebody calling out your effort makes you give less effort, then that tells me your resolve and your mental capacity isn't right. I don't care what that Vooch called it out to. There should at some point be pride to say, hey, listen, we not this bad. Let's go ahead and get this done. And that's what this Bulls team is going to have to show at some point, right? Now, when you look at this game against the Golden State Warriors, the Warriors are a top 5 defense in the league. Their offense hasn't been great. Now, they've missed Steph some over that time period, so that is what it is. Right now, they have a net rating of 0. They're 17th in the NBA. They're 24th in offense, but 5th in defense. Defense is where the Golden State Warriors have made their bread and butter. But the benefit of that is they also force a lot of turnovers, right? And they do move the ball very well on the offensive side of the ball. They get everybody involved, mainly because they have to, right? But this is not a great rebounding team. And with the Bulls, that's what they need to try to take advantage of, is take advantage of rebounding. You have to, any team that you can get a rebounding advantage over, the Bulls have to get that rebounding advantage because, again, it's tough, right? Now, Jimmy Butler did not play Saturday. Nor did Steph Curry. Steph Curry is going to be out in this game as well. He's going to miss some games. They probably rested Jimmy. I would imagine on a back-to-back, one of them is going to play. Al Horford, Draymond Green, and Seth Curry are all day-to-day, as is DeAnthony Melton. But the Bulls got to come in here and take care of business. Effort is the name of the game against this Golden State Warriors team. You have to outplay them with the effort side of the ball, right? Rebound the ball well, attack closeouts. You're going to have to attack them on both sides of the ball and be aggressive offensively and defensively for a full 4 quarters if you want to win against this team. Can the Bulls do it? Sure, they have the capability of doing it. We've seen it. Will they do it? That's the biggest question that we have in the world about this team. It's not a question of if, or can they, it's if they will, because this team doesn't give a shit, and they play like a bunch of pansies. So let's see what this Bulls team gives out today with effort. We'll be here covering it. We'll see what the Bulls can do. With that said, it is Sunday, so that means it is mailbag day. Let's get into these voicemails, man. This one's from Big Rob.
Hey, this is Big Rob from the West Side. Many blessings to you and your family, my brother. I'm going to say these things, and if I'm wrong, I know you'll let me know, and it's always appreciative. I was just finishing watching the game against Indiana. We lost twice to them now. I just feel that this organization, in the beginning, when we went 6-1, we had an identity. We were playing great defense. Yes, it was a little bit more fast-paced. We had bench depth. It felt good. Now, since we've been on this tailspin right now, my issues I'm having is they've lost an identity. And I feel like no one's taking accountability of just saying we need to steer the ship right. I like Billy Donovan. He's a better college coach than he is a professional NBA coach. You can say that he's with OKC, but look at the talent. You could say he had a lot of top heavy stars, but we also realistic that in Chicago, getting stars to come here is like pulling teeth. And I understand when people are like, oh, we should get AD or we get Giannis. But I don't want to get the future. I'm more realistic of trying to get Trey Jones. I'm more realistic of getting other players that fit the time frame. But I understand there's no guarantee that if you trade for them, they'll stay. I just want to know, in your opinion, is it a lack of identity that they've lost or a motivation to thrive? I know Vucevic has already mentally checked out. He's already gone. But outside of him, I just feel like there's something that's just, it's annoying the hell out of me. And I can't put my finger on it, but it just feels like they had something going and then they just took their foot off the gas and now they're just getting their ass kicked. And they're not even putting a fight to even try. And I just wanted your opinion Is my feelings valid, or am I just overthinking it? Just let me know what you think. I appreciate the time. God bless. Peace.
Is the Bulls' losing streak a lack of identity that they lost from the start of the season, or is it more motivation and drive? I'll say, hell, it's both. I think, hell, it's both. There is no identity. There is no motivation. There's no heart. There's no effort that this team is playing with right now. So I think at this point in time, it's both of them. And that's something that has definitely held this team back. Like, I don't even know if we can call it identity anymore. They played with what we thought was an identity for 5 games, but at this point now, we've seen a lot more of this version of the team than we have that 5 straight win version of the team, right? So I don't know if that was a flash in the pan and what we're seeing now is more their identity, or if it'll flip-flop at some point, but they got to go out there and prove it if we're going to believe in it. And right now, they haven't given us much to believe, just more reason for doubt. So it's both of them in this one. You have to discover an identity and a way that you want to play with aggression, physicality, those type of things. But if you don't have the motivation, that's why the effort. And I collate that with effort. They have to show the effort and the drive and desire every single night if they're going to want to win these games, Rob. And let's hope that they can, man. Let's hope that they can. But great voicemail there, Rob. Let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Josh.
Yo, what's going on, Chicago Bulls Central? Hayes. This is Josh out in Arizona. I'm calling today to talk about the Giannis rumors of, the Bulls front office talking to Milwaukee about, or Milwaukee's front office coming to talk to the Bulls about getting Giannis. And I think in this type of time, I don't know when they came to talk to the Bulls about it. It could be recent, could be in the off season, but let's just say it was a more recent talk that they've had. It is a very alluring. It's a very tempting offer to go all in and bucket grab Giannis, because he's a top 3 player in the NBA. However, I think though, where we find ourselves at with the team, 5-game losing streak and all that, I don't think now would be the time to get a player like Giannis on this team. Nor do I think that we have enough to give for Giannis while also maintaining a team that can really compete in the East, you said in your Locked On episode that you'll probably just be hitting the wall, getting bounced in the first round every year. Yeah, we making it to the playoffs, but getting bounced like that every year is just gonna make fans a lot angrier too. What I do like though is the openness of AK and them to actually be talking about making trades and moving players, but also wanting to keep their core together. So if they are high on this core as they say they are, then I believe that they should be smart with their moves. I'm sure there's a player that nobody's talking about. I'm sure there's a player that nobody really sees as in a fan perspective on adding them to the team and seeing what that could do. But I think AK and Mark Eversley, they really got to do their due diligence between now and the trade deadline to, go find a player that can fit on this team and help out with things like the defense and paint protection. So let me know what you think. Have a good one.
I agree with your point, man. I don't think the Bulls are ready for Giannis because you got to think about it. It's not about even the money. It's about the structure, right? And when you give up that much of your team for a star-level player, you have to make sure that you have enough around them, right? And so I think that that I agree with you that it does show that there is a willingness to make smart moves. Now, will they do it is the question here, right? I love the thought process of, we're willing to make moves, which means expirings, maybe even giving up some of your first to get the right pieces in here. And I just don't think we have the structure with what it would take to give up, because Milwaukee isn't just giving up Giannis for nothing. They're going to want a lot back, either now or future assets or a combination of both. You give up that, what do you have as structure around Giannis? You really don't have much, right? But hopefully this does show that the Bulls are willing to push some of their pieces in if it means improving the team right now. And all we can do is hope that that's the case, whether it's Nick Claxton or Walker Kessler or, whoever it ends up being in the offseason, if they decide to wait for that, you need to be aggressive. But, we'll see what the Bulls do at this year's trade deadline. They have all the tools at their disposal to be active if they want to. We'll see if they will. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Sherrod.
Hey, Hayes, how you doing? It's Sherrod, man. Long time listener. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the love you got for the time. And I appreciate how you bring it to us, man, daily. I be on it at work, listening to you lead me. But let me get to my drop. My problem, man, is when I watch the Bulls, it's hard to play with energy. It's hard to play with effort when you going in the battle and you ain't prepared to go in and go in the fight. Like, and I've said this for the longest, and you've said it for the longest. Billy Donovan just ain't the one. And I say that to say this, even though he went into the Hall of Fame, I still don't understand that, but okay, cool. He's not a good coach of the game of basketball. When I watch the Bulls, the biggest issue with the Bulls, their fundamentals are trash. Their effort could be there all day, but if your fundamentals are trash, you're going to get beat all day. We lost these games to all these subpar teams because at the end of the day, our IQ and our fundamentals for basketball is garbage. They don't know when to block out. They don't know when to cut. They don't know when to slide, when to switch over. I've watched them time and time again make basic fundamental basketball errors that I learned in high school. Like, it's crazy when you watch them, and the simplest of things that you watch in the game and you say to yourself, that's coaching. That's coaching. If you start to regress back to the things that you've done before, it means you're not coached in the proper techniques to do what you need to do. And Billy Donovan is not that type of coach, and I don't think any of them on that bench is. The simplest of things that they should know how to do in the course of a basketball. Why do you have to be told that you should back cut if they trap it at the top and the elbow? Back cut. The whole baseline is wide open. Get a layup. Why do you have to be told when the shot go up, body up? Find the body. Get in front of the body. Get between the defender and the rim. Or get between your player and the rim. Like, you shouldn't you shouldn't have to be told that. You should have been taught that. And to me, it's going back to the basics, going back to the fundamentals when you got a young team that you need to do. And again, with Vooch, trash. Like, and Billy does not hold them accountable to me in their playing time. A real coach, if you're not doing what I need you to do out on the court, I'm not going to leave you out there. And to me, Billy doesn't have a lot of the time a good feel for where the game is. If Vooch is on the block and he got a smaller player, at what point do he tell them, hey man, Vooch, when you got the ball and you got a smaller player, attack the basket? If he's not telling them that, the Vooch will get the ball and have a smaller player on him and kick the ball out. How often do you have to see that? If Vooch takes
everything you're saying is right, but I think a lot of teams around the NBA just lack fundamentals, right? And I just think that we're seeing a consistent lack of, like, following up your shot. That's just something. Attacking closeouts consistently, right? I think the effort gets you some of the way there, right? So I get what you're saying, absolutely, like fundamentals and how that correlates to coaching and all that type of stuff. But I also think effort and how you motivate your team. You can't be, like, for example, you can't be around me at Chi-Town Sports Central and be lazy. Everybody knows that. My work ethic is too good. And therefore, our work ethic is good, right? Steve-O, Bobby, C-Dub, Kev, Big Mike, shout out to Mike. All these motherfuckers put in work. And I like to think part of that is, that I motivate them, then motivate me, right? So it's about the culture. We all put in work. You have to create that environment that knows we ain't no half-stepping around if you want to be a part of this squad. And unfortunately, right now, the Bulls don't have that standard set. So we see a lot of players fall off, taper off, be lazy at times, not want to go after the ball, not attack the rim, take lazy shots, break the flow of the offense. We see a lot too much of that, right? And I think that's about the culture that you set here. And you got to take accountability of the culture that you have set and then do what you can to improve it, or you got to move on, right? So we'll see what happens here. But this team needs to get their shit together if they want to salvage this season. And we're running out of time rapidly. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Doug.
Hey, Hayes. This is Doug. First and foremost, not sure when you're going to hear this voicemail, but happy birthday. I hope the Bulls give you a game where they play with a lot of energy and heart and good defense and move a lot on offense. But I'm not holding my breath. I wanted to talk about how everybody seems like they want to trade for Antetokounmpo or Anthony Davis. And my biggest problem is you're paying each of those players somewhere between $50 and $60 million. And not saying that they're not worth it, but I think you only get a player like that if you're willing to go over the luxury tax to add players around them to make you more of a championship contending team. And the Bulls aren't going to be that. So by getting one of those players, you're close enough to say that's basically a third of what you're willing to pay all of the players for the whole team. And I think you would need more money than that to stack good players around them. For that same amount of money, for example, we could pay Kobe and Io, $50 million collectively, and still have 17 on top of that. Or really, what I think you could have the same amount of money, pay Trey Murphy III, his 27, and throw Walker Kessler 28, 30 million this offseason to have him come play, and have the same amount of money as what you would in either Antetokounmpo or Anthony Davis, and have that in two good players, and still have Josh Giddey, still have money to re-sign Kobe and Io to $50 million. And I feel like that would be a better way to go. And if it looks like that's going to be a good team that's going to consistently make playoffs, then I think you look at going over the luxury tax to get a player like Antetokounmpo or Anthony Davis or somebody else. But I don't think it's a good idea to give up so many players and assets just to make yourself a playoff team. That's what we did when we got DeRozan and Levine, and we saw how that worked. But let me know what you think. Hope you have a great birthday. God bless you.
Hey, first, thank you for the birthday wishes, bro. I appreciate that. But I think you make a good point, right? The money matters. Money matters in getting a player like Giannis. And it'd be different if you are spending that amount of money on a player that truly comes in and transforms you into a contender right away. Hate to tell y'all, AD definitely ain't that. He's not a transformative player. Giannis is more of that than AD, but I think we've even seen Giannis, like if you don't have the right structure around him, he's going to be a first-round exit every single year. The proof is in the pudding there. So you have to be and have more around him than I think what people realize. And that's not a knock to Giannis. That's like where he is. He's over 30 at this point in time. Like most players get to that point. And, Giannis has been, he's able to push his teams to win 45 to 50 games just about every year of his NBA career. Since he ascended to stardom. So that like no knock on him. But I think you got to deal with the reality of where you are. Like getting Giannis with what it's going to take to get him. The Bulls aren't a championship contender. They may not even be make it out the first round. And so that you do have to be smart in how you acquire these players as well. And that's something that sometimes as fans, we don't really think about the team building, right? And that is something that the front office has to think about. They can't just live in the now. They have to think about, 6 months, 6 years, whatever down the road. And we'll see if they do that enough to actually improve this team enough at this year's deadline. All right, let's get into the last voicemail, man. This one's from our brother Corn.
What's the good word, King Drip? It's your brother Corn. You already know. Let's get right into this shit, man. Interesting. People comparing, and it's not just you, Josh Giddey to Tyrese Haliburton. I got a problem with that. He shouldn't be compared. If you want to talk about strictly skill set, stats, and all this other jazz and all that other shit, okay. I'm talking about that mindset, the mindset that he will lack, the mindset that Modest been lacking. Tyrese Haliburton is a straight dog when it comes to that mindset. Whenever he's on the court, it don't matter who the fuck he plays. He feels like I am the best player on this motherfucking court. I can't even feel like if we feel that way for Josh Giddey, if he feel that way on his own team. Am I the best player on my team? Or is it Kobe? Or is it Midas coming up? That mindset of his, to me, is what separated him from a lot of people. What he did last year in the playoffs, I get it, you want to call it, that's superstar shit. What he did in the playoffs and the finals, beat the teams that he wasn't supposed to beat, and being that man, being the clutch shot. Man, I remember that, man, when he stole the ball, went back, hit that, well, it was a 2, and hit that goddamn 3 and did the choke sign. I just sat there in awe. When he played against OKC and Shady Giddey, he had calf problems, but he still in some games outplayed. If that game 7, we all watched it. We all got eyes. If he didn't tear that fucking Achilles, he would have led that team to a championship. So I say this to Josh Giddey, got to have that mindset, because if he doesn't, he won't even lead us out the fucking play-in, because right now we a play-in team. That's the difference. It's not skill set, it's mindset when it comes to Tyrese Haliburton. And I don't give a fuck about him because he's a Pacer fan, and I hate the fucking Pacers. That's my sister team. But that's it, King Drip. Love you. You already know, King. Blessings.
All right, I think we have to, like, when people are comparing Giddey to, or saying that Giddey can be the Bulls' Haliburton, I think it's ace, not comparing them as players or skill set. It's how you can build an offense around them. The Pacers truly built an offense around Tyrese Haliburton. And when you talk about him turning into a killer, he absolutely is that. But he developed into that because he was trusted with that, right? Haliburton wasn't that 3 years ago. He was a decent player. He had to develop that mindset, right? And so what you saw last year in that playoff run was a culmination of the last few years of how they have empowered Tyrese Haliburton and how is he taking command of that empowerment, that they gave him the reins to the offense and to lead that team. He grew into that. I think that's what the Bulls are hoping that somebody on this team is going to grow into. But with the lack of effort that we're seeing, how do you trust that, right? And that's the part of the problem in that as well. So, we'll see. If they want Josh Giddey to be their Haliburton, you got to still go out there and prove it by putting the right structure around him and the players that fit. But you make a great point, Corn. It's also about Josh Giddey developing the needed mindset to show and earn the trust that's then put in him if they're going to build the offense around him. And, we've seen bits and pieces of that for sure, right? We've seen that Josh Giddey has a little bit of that killer instinct. I think that sometimes frustration from refs and things like that does get in his head. And that's just me being honest with what we've seen from him. But do I think he's going to be able to eventually, get to that point? Yeah, I think he'll get there. I think Josh Giddey has more of an edge than we've seen. And I think, like, he's still a young player, but I think we're going to see that start come out of him more and more, I think. But you got to win. That's the most important thing. You got to win as you ascend to getting there. So great voicemail there, Corn. Great voicemail from everybody, as it is always every Sunday. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This team is at a crossroads, and we are going to continue to break it all down every step of the way here at Chicago Bulls Central. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Always drop your thoughts. Love hearing from you guys. And as always, make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we're on. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe out there. Love you guys. Go Bulls. And if you can, see red, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.